Don't leave it down there. It'll go the way.
Oh, you're right.
It'll go the way of your cord.
Or last week's hat.
There we go.
Sweet.
All right.
Ready?
We are good to go. Turn down the audio just a hair. Using the room audio again. So we're good.
Well, gentlemen, I'm sitting here with Mr. Angelo Semifero and Mr. Johnny Gwin, and I'll go ahead and start after your.
Sorry.
It's no problem. You don't have to apologize. This is just a quick intro. Well, how are you doing this evening, Mr. I'm just going to start different.
Warts and all, baby.
Yeah. Well, good evening, gentlemen. I'm sitting here with Angelo Semifero and Mr. Johnny Gwin, and we're going to talk a little bit about a lot of different things. But at first, we're going to do our weekend update. We're going to talk about what everybody did, and I think Johnny Gwin was probably a part of the biggest event as far as a lot of people in
Locally.
A small one-block area. And by the way, I saw the picture based on your post. It was Find Johnny.
Right.
And I ran my finger over as many faces as I could trying to find your tag. There's some people tagged in there, but you weren't there. I couldn't find you.
I'm right in the front on the right-hand side next to the porta potties on the Callahan's.
Next to the porta potties.
St. Patrick's Day Street Party, which is quite the event.
Yeah.
I'm thinking 2,000, 2,500 people probably in the streets of Oakley.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
So the turnout was pretty good. How did you do with your merchandise, the deep fried studio stuff?
Well, we sold all week with our Leprechaun product, which is the Crichton Leprechaun and Joe Kane sketch mashup, and we did really well. I've been selling that for a couple weeks. We got our hats in a little late. That was the only bad thing. There's the hat to the Facebook Live people, but
It's a nice looking hat.
and it came in. I love those hats. They're called OC Premium. The reason why they came in late was they're the hottest hats on the market right now, and the company's having a little hard time keeping up with the amount of people that want it. But I will say we talked to the vice president of the company because we were not going to get it by Saturday, and it kind of would have. It's got a St. Patrick's Day type theme to it. And so he was really good. He comped us an order of some hats and then overnighted it to us. We got them on Saturday. So thumbs up to OC Premium Hats. That customer service really came through. And it was a small order too, and they really wanted it to be a big deal, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
so
save the day. Hey, that's what you want. Save
Yeah.
the type stuff for somebody. If that's what you're in business for, customer service is anything. That's why we talk about people shopping things around, and a lot of people are like, well, I can get it on Amazon or eBay. Well, that works really well with normal commodities that you can save money on, but when you're buying a premium product or something like that, you might get something that's, I'm not just in China totally, but made in China, totally trash, or quality products that are very nice that you have put together. Now, the shirts you guys buy, but they're even upper class shirts are not your average
Correct.
tee you're going to go grab at a discount store, right?
Yeah, Deep Fried Threads is the name of my company. It's an apparel company. We do all types of things. We're actually doing belts now. We're doing hats. We do stickers. We do prints. We do posters, but mostly T-shirts is where we got into the business. And we use a company called Bella Canvas, and we handpicked it because we are a boutique company. I sell T-shirts for $24. Well, if I'm going to sell a $24 T-shirt, it's got to be nice. It's got to be a higher end. It's got to fit right. If you've got a problem with it, let me know. We will deal with that, to make sure you get what you want. And the printing, we spend time with the printer. I go and do press checks. I don't not see a product before it goes out. I mean, we really spend a lot of time making sure that product is a premium product.
Yeah, that's hands-on is what makes a product. It really is. That's like talking about it like what Angelo and I do. If we were just there, just trading money, just getting you out of there, it takes a lot of the fun out of it. You got to actually be hands-on and customer service. And hats off to Angelo. He's our customer service he's the head of a lot of things there at the shop, but definitely Mr. Customer Service. He's
A lot
really
of
good
hats.
Yeah, really
Not,
good at
not with the Leprechaun, but a lot of hats.
handling people, and I am too. I'm more of I was always on the business end. When I owned a software company called Hypeware, I ran the hiring and firing, and you have to be kind of cutthroat yet very personable and human at the same time. There's an art to doing it without having any problems, and I'm really good at it, but it's not looked at as a big bonus because you're good at something like that.
I do want to mention that last year when I got the first edition of your Leprechaun shirt,
right.
not only was it a great quality product and a beautiful design, but it was hand-delivered by the designer himself as we were walking the dogs.
I was actually trying to do that this year with a little, sale. You have to have sales promo every once in a while, right? So, there's the event at Callahan's, like we talked about before, very big event, and a lot of people want to wear that shirt that day, right? Well, I told everybody, if you don't order by Wednesday, I cannot ensure, even locally, you're going to get it in your hand because of shipping, right?
Sure.
So I was going to do this thing where it was like, okay, it's Thursday morning, I'm going to take the next 10 orders the next 10 orders that come in, I'm going to personally hand deliver on Friday. Well, I couldn't do it. It's fun to me to do that because I want to meet the people that are spending money with me and then going. And most people who are buying from me are not buying for the first time. They're the second, third, fourth time buyer for me, and that's who keeps the small business person in. You know, that means they like what we're doing, and I really want to do that, but it was just time constraints, and I just couldn't make it happen. Maybe something down the road will do something like that, but I love going out and seeing the people that buy the products. I'm sure that's why you love it too. It's like, who comes and sees you, and what are they looking for, and it helps you know what the market wants.
Yeah.
And if you listen to them and seeing that, I mean, of course, you're going to take some gut instinct things and put some things in there that, I think my group will like this. But if you don't know your customer, you don't know what to get for them or what they want.
That's something that eBay can learn a lesson on because we sell a lot of stuff on eBay, and their rules are so stringent because they don't want you selling outside of eBay. And understand, they're using their platform, they should get their commission. Big commission, but they should get it. I understand.
Sure.
So they really don't want you to exchange phone numbers. They don't want you to, all contacts go through eBay. Well, your customer service goes down the hill. A lot of people get burnt or think they got burnt.
Frustrated.
If they would have just been able to call you and you talk it out, they would have been a happy customer. That's the problem with products like that, or an eBay online service. That's why having your own website, or you like not only running it, you're like hand delivery sometimes. I mean, it takes all the negative part about the generic box internet stuff and gives a personality to it.
Well, like e-commerce. So I have an e-commerce site. That's what we thought we would do. 90% online sales, 10% kind of specialty stuff, whatever we were doing. Well, we found out we're roughly a 50-50 company. We're doing retail and we're doing e-commerce, and it works together. The more we get out and we push the brand and people, we touch flesh, right? We're touching hands, seeing people, meeting people. Well, they're going back to website too. It's a back and forth thing, and I really enjoy that. But the problem with like an eBay or problem with Amazon, they're so gigantic. There's no way they can have that. So like you said, buy the commodities, buy those things you want. But if it comes down to something specialty, something that's custom or one of a kind, that's not the best place because you can get burned.
Yeah.
You really can. And it's amazing how many people we have that are customers there at the shop that contact Mobile Bay Coins through Facebook, for example. And Ron was laughing at me in good humor. We were laughing together on this one, but we had the Final Horseman and the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse series come out and the 10-ounce bar at the same time. And Ron's looking at me saying, okay, we're ordering all these different items. How are we going to, do we have people for these? What's going on? And I could tell you name by name by name which people wanted which items because they're all sending me messages on Facebook going, oh my gosh, I want a 10-ounce bar. I want the 1-ounce round and the 10-ounce bar. No, just the 10-ounce bar for me. No, just the round. And it was so many messages. And I had notes and then notes and then notes because, okay, they want the 1, they want the 10, they want both. But every single one of those items came through, and those people come into the shop, and they want to know, just like with your hats, with your shirts, with all your apparel and your pins and everything you're doing, they want to know that these items are quality and they're trusted and that we trust them. So what we're doing is basically vetting these products from some of our suppliers.
Yeah, sometimes it's strange things. Today, I just happened to remember that we had a customer that's collecting Christmas rounds. They're trying to get one from every year, I guess, from when they were born. I don't know the whole details because Anna and Angelo are handling it, but I had a nice big stack of them, and it's all in a database. So Anna's able to get into it. I'm able to get into it, but usually I dictate to Angelo to manage it. You want one person that's really on top of that. That way nobody can point fingers and say they didn't get a call. If somebody doesn't get a call, it's going to be his fault, and that's the best way to do it.
Pretty much everything is my fault, Johnny, in case you haven't noticed that there.
Everybody needs a fall guy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And he's that way, you got to go to.
Sure.
That's right.
You can imagine slapping Angelo before.
We'll take him out back. He didn't handle it. We'll take him out back. Trust me. We're not going to let him go because we really don't want to hear his sad story. But he will get it back in the back today. But
And that's the fun thing about what we do, though, is that this couple has actually been remarried since 2004, and they are trying
What's remarried mean?
They have both been married and divorced.
Okay, so
older couple,
they've
and
remarried
then they met
people,
each other,
they
and they've married each other as of 2004. And so what they want to do is collect a silver Christmas round or bar. They're pretty flexible on that part. Every year from 2004 when they became a couple up to present. And it was several years ago that they started collecting the bars and rounds for themselves and for their children and for their grandchildren. And the funny part is they have a metal Christmas tree at their house that they say they hang all of these things on. So they buy the little holders that you can actually hang onto a Christmas tree or hang onto a ribbon or something like that. And they have all of those from 2017 backwards up to a certain point. and then they weren't really collecting those. They didn't know us. They hadn't been coming by the shop. So now they're trying to play catch up, and they want to have all the right bars and rounds from those dates so they can fill out the entire Christmas tree with all these pieces of silver. And we always custom engrave those for them as well. So it's a lot of fun trying to put those pieces together, complete that set for them, even though it's not a really fancy or special set, except to them.
Right.
And to them, it's really, really important.
Just like Angelo was a very special child to
Hey.
his parents. It goes right along with that same thing.
What a snowflake.
Yeah, he's a snowflake, Angelo. I wanted to mention my weekend really quick.
Okay.
I went down to the beach to check on plants. We had early planted a garden this year in the hopes that we wouldn't get a hard freeze and nuke everything. That way everything gets a nice fresh start.
So it's your fault.
It's my fault. Everything was doing great, so I was able to tomato plants tie them off a couple times, and it's all good news on those types of plants. And I got some exercise, went to the park, and rode my bicycle, and I had to ride it standing up. I still have an issue where I have a hard time sitting down.
Let's not go into any
Yeah,
details.
well, I went to my mountain bike up and just lowered the seat all the way down. I left it on because if you slip off a pedal and land there, I figured having that seat might be a good idea.
Yeah, a lot better than landing on the post. That would be
Yeah.
really painful.
So I left the seat on. I actually thought, I did, I'm Polish. I thought I
You
would take
thought?
it off, just keep it out of the way of my legs and
Yeah,
stuff.
no.
I thought,
No.
safety, it wouldn't be hard telling that story.
It would be painful telling that
Freudian
story.
slip there.
So anyway, I did a nice little bike ride and saw my first snake of the year, saw a diamondback rattlesnake.
The first snake of
Whoa,
spring.
that's a serious snake.
That's a serious snake. It was a little under 2 foot long. I didn't stretch it out and say, hold on, dude, I want to measure you.
Yeah.
But it was about 2 foot long.
Was it a dude or was it a dudette?
I didn't know. Once again, I couldn't sex it because I'd have to have my number one snake stick with me.
You
which I
never
didn't
rose
have.
with you. You weren't trying to romance it or anything.
Number two, where it was on the road, it went right into a brushy area. It was surrounded with white sand, so I could see it if it got out of the
Yeah.
area, but it was about 15, 16 foot in a circular U shape, and you couldn't see the snake. Just a little bit of the tail, and that was it. I'm like, I do not want to poke at him and flush him out. And
Poking a
trip
rattlesnake
into it.
is not
One of those
necessarily.
things that falling back into it would be really bad. It just wouldn't work
Look,
out well.
I can't stand snakes. That's
Really?
Yeah, I can handle roaches. I can handle almost anything, man. It's something about the way they slither. It makes my skin crawl. It's just that movement. And I grew up around the bay on Daphne side, a lot around Mobile Bay, and man, those eels would those
Yeah.
water moccasins
Oh, yeah.
would just freak me out, man.
They're dangerous.
I
too.
could handle the alligators a lot better than I could the snakes. And then there was actually an incident where a young man was skiing in a small river over there. I mean, a small river over there. I can't remember which one it was. And the rumor was he was slaloming and fell into an area, and it was one of those viper, like one of those like water moccasin
little
pits.
pits.
Yeah.
He died. Well, when you're like 9 or 10 and you hear that, it's like everything's a moccasin pit, right? So
Exactly.
that freaked me out too. Scarred me forever.
That story, in any state you go to, that story exists, to where water moccasin pit, or in Missouri, the stories were always tied to a basically an abandoned area for rock quarries. Because
Yeah, I got
you, yeah.
a lot of limestone, so a lot of rock quarries that fill with water naturally, and they turn into swimming holes. And there's a
Right.
story of kids jumping in, and it was a nest of moccasins, which they do nest, and it can't happen. So it's either such a common frequency that everybody has a story that's similar, or it's one of those
Cautionary
yeah,
tales.
gosh, don't do it.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous and a little disappointed because, Johnny, you're out there partying at Callahan's and having a great time for St. Patty's Day. Ron's out there bike riding through Gulf Shores State Park and
Playing
seeing
rattlesnakes.
snakes and having all sorts of fun like that. And I enjoy snakes. I'm not like Johnny with that. They don't freak me out or creep me out. And my exciting weekend, I was laying tile.
And I heard taxes. You said taxes.
Yes,
too.
I was doing taxes
Wow.
and laying tile. That was my wild, exciting weekend.
You could
So
use one more T there, or something you were doing this week.
exactly.
Texting.
Traumatized.
Yeah, I texted
Traumatized.
people complaining about the taxes and running tile or laying tiles.
But the good news is I'm also planning for my trip that's later on this week. Thursday, I'm actually heading out of town, heading out to Anaheim, California. Never been to Anaheim, or actually technically Van Nuys and then into Anaheim. And so I was curious because you were a California boy at one point in time.
3 years, yeah. San
And-
Diego County.
And Ron has traveled a lot over the years. So I'm actually going out to California, going to go to a Comic Con, but not the Comic Con. It's actually WonderCon. And I'm really looking forward to it. Have some friends that I'm meeting up with out there that are on some panels there at the shows and things like that. One of them actually has this YouTube video that's out there right now. It's sort of a trailer. Well, not sort of. It is a trailer for a straight to video production, straight to online video production that she's trying to do. And she's actually trying to get a grant, I guess you'd say.
A grant. Okay, we're out of time. Ron's over here dozing off where instead he's producing a show.
So roll back and just wrap up the grant real quick.
You need to say we'll put a link on the
Okay.
our Facebook page.
I guess you'd say.
Okay, a grant, I guess they say, is where you are.
Yep.
You can finish it. I'm just letting you guys know I want to.
I'll be quick. A grant for her video production, and it made me actually roll into the topic I want to discuss tonight. Is her grant and her video is going to be incredibly expensive, and it makes me think about why are things expensive and why are things valued the way they're supposed to be valued.
This is Ron, Angelo, and Johnny Gwin with Two Guys and Some Change, brought to you by Mobile Bay Coins. We'll be right back. Good job, man.
That was a good
And
intro.
now that we're off the air, but we're still on video,
Yes,
I
hey,
will
everybody.
put the link up on our website to her
Yeah.
video production there, because I know she is working incredibly hard on this right now.
Good job.
Man, that con sounds great.
I'm looking forward to it. I truly am. I've never been to this one. A number of the folks that I'm friends with are going to be there. That's always a good thing.
So you got people on the panels, you said?
Yeah, she's on a couple different panels.
Well, that's great because that means you might get some ability to see some behind the curtain stuff.
And that's what I'm sort of looking forward to.
Yeah.
Is the fact that one of her friends at the last con I was at had a bunch of stuff going on and was able to sort of get me in. Unfortunately for me, I didn't get in on the darn stuff because I was too busy with everything else I was doing. And that's the part that was very frustrating. Is that I missed out on it.
You finish your weekend stuff, so you got your trip.
Yep,
Let's talk
we
a
all
little bit
finished
about
the weekend
con.
stuff.
The con. I was going to ask you WunderCon. What was the Euro trip in Amsterdam?
Wunderbar.
No, it was Wunda. We might not be able to talk about this.
No, we can't talk about your trip on the... But I do want to talk about stuff that's...
massage parlor.
So stuff that has value. So, we were talking about things that are expensive.
And then we can lead all that can tie into the...
Right. So when are things expensive and when do they have value and what's the tie-in? Somebody was talking at the shop about, okay, this is a silver dollar. What's it really worth? Is it worth $1 because it's a silver dollar? Or is it worth silver because it's silver?
That kind of leads into this thing about the
Sure.
Donald
Yeah,
Trump
right.
thing. Yeah, because the guy's so many things to deal with.
That right into
Yeah.
the Trump stuff. Ready? Well, Mr. Angelo Semifero and Johnny Gwin, we are back from the break, and you're listening to Okay,
Nice.
You're listening to Two Guys and Some Change, and I just said all that stuff. So, hey, thanks for listening. I'm totally blowing this.
We're good. Take a deep breath.
That's the beauty of editing.
Nice.
Well, Mr. Angelo Semifero and Johnny Gwin, we are back from the break. Okay, Ron.
Nice.
It's kind of
You're
maniacal.
listening to Two Guys
That's a
and Some
maniacal
Change.
laugh right there.
I kind of want to leave it.
A little creepy.
Some change, and
Nice.
you're listening to Two Guys and Some Change, and okay, Ron, you're listening. There we go. Thanks for listening this evening, and we're going to talk a little bit about perceived values. Angelo always talks to people when they come to the shop. So do I, but he does all the time because he's running the counter. People come in and they want to know what something's worth, and in many cases, it's a item made of gold or silver, platinum, palladium, some precious metal, even just copper. You can tell them, okay, it's approximately worth this much just based on its metal value, and usually it goes up from there based on collectability. But people come in with items, comic books, strange things, signed baseball cards, and they want to know what the value is. And there you really get into perceived value in a lot of these things, because an item, whether it's authenticated, it's not a coin. There's not some of these things like comic books and baseball cards do have grading services now. I know both PCGS and NGC will grade those and encapsulate them and protect them, but really coins, currency, and some bullion items have been the mainstay for those types of services.
And at the same time, all of these different things you're talking about have several different levels of quote-unquote value. You look at an old silver dollar, and we had a long discussion there at the shop about this. You can buy a silver dollar, a Morgan dollar, or a peace dollar, anywhere from 1878 all the way up to 1935, and technically it is worth $1 because it is still legal tender here in the United States.
Hold on.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm sorry. Something shifted.
And
You moved back.
It is
Okay.
worth $1 because it is still
Let me
legal
scoot back.
tender here in the
All
United
right,
States.
hold on.
Sorry, Facebook.
And technically Facebook. it is worth $1 because it is still...
You're on it. Technically, it was worth. It is worth.
Got it.
I'm trying not to be complicated. I really am not. There we go. See, that's where you are. The things when you lean
I
back.
did go back, so
Yeah.
I was picking my nose. I didn't want to be.
Oh, and that's a good reason to do that.
Yeah, at least you're live for your picking the nose segment. 78 all the way up to 1935.
Sorry, guys.
I'm good.
1935.
And at the same time, that silver dollar has a silver value because it is roughly 3/4 of an ounce of silver. So somewhere around $12 or $13 worth of actual silver value if you were melting the little sucker down. Now the third value, that bottle or something, so it's not pulling on it. Wow. Is
Sorry, Facebook.
That's called bloopers.
I'll leave it in.
we did a number of those this morning.
And
so.
we had the most amount of people watching us. Sorry about that, guys.
And any of the dirt on the floor, it's Johnny's fault. Not mine.
That is the beauty of live TV, I'm guess. So,
Okay, you ready?
Yep. So the final value of that silver dollar is the numismatist or numismatic or collectible value of that silver dollar, which could be $15 or $20 if it's a common circulated silver dollar, all the way up to thousands and thousands of dollars if it's something that's very rare.
Thousands and thousands. I hate that term. Just say hundreds of thousands of dollars. Thousands and
Hundreds of thousands, really?
Yeah.
So
It really can. Like 1893 S and super high grade. Proof 1895 Morgan dollar, especially with deep cam one, sold for well over that
so
amount.
deep cam. That's
yeah, so
deep cameras?
You can get to $1 million in Morgan dollars if you want to spend the money.
Really?
So, yeah, but they were talking one of a kind, pop 101, super high grade coins. I mean, that's what I mean. So a lot of times people hear thousands and thousands, but you got to be able to make sure you check the sidebar there and make sure they understand you're not going to search your pocket change for the kind of dollars we're talking about.
Right.
They would be left to you in the state, or they would have been well protected because anything that is circulated is not going to qualify for the kind of money.
but everybody thinks they have one, though.
Yeah, they do. It's probably the biggest disappointment that Angelo and I run into, and I bet a lot of people do when you're telling people values. Like if somebody came to you with a record collection, you don't want to disappoint. A lot of times people were counting on that money for something, or they
Right.
paid a lot more in the past, and you don't want to. We tell people the truth. We say this is what it's worth. This is what it's trading at. We'll show you what it melts at. We try to be upfront and honest with everything. So everybody can leave the store or leave a transaction, whether it's online or at the shop, feeling good. You want to do the same thing. Somebody has a problem with that hat or it wasn't stitched right, you're going to make sure you make it right, and we do the same thing. And that helps you with kind of drifting off. But it's true between online stuff and then brick and mortar or
Right.
a hybrid like Johnny, who's kind of brick and mortar and kind of online. He's a hybrid. And there's other people like that, but usually they're small, and then they grow into something that has to go online only because it gets too
Right.
big.
And you don't have access to the person who like you were starting to do business with. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I do work with Angelo. I mean, I do trading with Angelo. I work with Ron. Well, when the company gets bigger and bigger, the company has to scale, and
Yep.
you have to trust that Ron and Angelo hired those people properly to say, hey, look, these people are an extension of me. You are getting me, but I don't get to do that anymore because I'm doing bigger things in the back.
And that's one of the great things about working there at the shop and talking to some of our customers that come in and they're now starting to work with Anna or starting to work with Tony. And I had a great compliment for Anna the other day where something came in and I was not a part of any of this at all
That's
whatsoever.
how the great compliment came up.
That's the great compliment is they said, hey, Anna knew exactly what my tastes were, what my style was, contacted me. You weren't involved at all in the process, but yet she sold me something that I not only like but love, and the person's daughter loves as well. And at the same time, I'm sitting there thinking, on one hand, I didn't do it. What happened? I should have been involved. That's the OCD,
Right.
obsessive
That's
compulsive
the
part of me.
manager, too, that wants to be a part of everything.
But at the same time, I sort of took that deep breath and took a step back and said, that's precisely what we want, because we want everybody that's on the team to have their focus. And you don't have to do everything at your shop. I shouldn't have to do everything. Ron shouldn't have to do everything. That's what being a team is everybody has their role.
I shouldn't have to do anything. Correct yourself there.
Okay, Ron doesn't
yeah,
do
but
anything.
you love when you get an appraisal and you're like, oh my gosh,
Right.
uncirculated, enter the coin here, and you love going through it though. And Angelo go, hey, you know what? That's Ron's thing. I'm gonna deal with this.
When I said that, I really should have basically laid it out truthfully. If it's appraisals or meeting people for looking at coins, I love that stuff. The part that I'm talking about not having to do is the stuff that's accounting.
Right.
Dealing with the backbone of it. You guys got to
Taxes.
file taxes and do all that stuff.
Revenue
And
guy.
I'm involved in all that. And I don't have to be. Nancy's really good with numbers. I have to because I'm like you. I'm 100% OCD. I have to know everything.
Yeah.
With the taxes and stuff like for this year, I was within $600 of estimating what we were going to owe.
Oh, that's
based
pretty
on
good.
prepping everything for the CPA myself, and I'm getting better and better. But under $1,000, and
That's
so
solid.
I just have to be involved. So if I wasn't involved and anything went wrong, I would blame myself for not being there.
Yeah, wow.
And he'd be pretty much melting down at that point.
Well, talk about perceived value. We always think our company is not worth what it is or is worth what it is. And going back to collectibles, I just heard a real estate guy say, too many people are using their house as a bank.
Right.
Well, you definitely can't use volatile collectibles and even bullion. It's not a bank. You use it to do other things. It's a part of your portfolio, right?
Yep, exactly.
But if your perceived value is, I'm buying this thing so my kids, I won't pay for college for my kids. Does it ever work out that way?
It doesn't. It could. Like
Right, but it's an exception, not the rule.
Yeah, it's like a possibility of a star exploding nearby. It could happen. But chances are really, really low. So you can usually get by. But that's how that stuff happens. It's having the bullion, so in case something comes up and you need to be able to sell something, using it as a hedge against inflation. If the dollar was to basically tank and all of a sudden commodities go through the roof, it's funny how many times people come in, though, Johnny, and say, man, I have 100 ounces and I can't wait till silver gets to $40,000 an ounce. I said, you should wait, because that means gasoline's going to cost you $45,000 a gallon. It's it's all relative together. It's a commodity, so be careful what you wish for, because it could be some crazy times. The idea of the hedge is to offset the losses you would have in your 401k, like in our very last recession when the stock market was in the toilet and people perceived to lose money unless they sold their stocks. They really didn't take a loss. And thank goodness a bunch of people, myself included, stayed with it and just wrote it back out, because the stock market's been doing really well now. And perceived value. So stocks have perceived value too. And so do...
Right. Well, everyone thinks they're going to hit that, that penny stock that becomes, $88. Well, I mean, to be honest, man, if you look at, I think I read a book recently called Essentialism or Why Ask Why. It doesn't matter, but it was a book talking about if you had invested in this company in 1992, it would have been the most return you could ever imagine. It was Southwest Airlines.
Right.
And that's not some crazy tech company, right? This is just this very interesting thing where all of these people that put all this money into the early 2000s, it was the dot-com bust, right?
Yep.
2008 was whatever all that craziness was, real estate and everything.
Yep.
The idea is a lot of times those blue chips, those conservative, those stick with it, stick with your plan, go that very conservative route, but still have a little bit, for a little bit of risk.
Absolutely.
It always does. Was it the long haul gets the gravy,
It really does. And something that I was researching the other night, because my brain was sort of running in circles and I couldn't figure out what we were going to talk about. And one of the things we were discussing there at the shop with all the people coming through is, how come this silver dollar is not worth $1? It's worth more than $1, but how come my paper dollar is only worth $1? And we were discussing some of those things, and I started drifting. I started thinking about the fact that we've all heard the stories. The Native Americans used to use shell money.
Right, beads.
Yeah, beads and shell money and things like that. And I started doing some research on that, and it actually shocked me that I was completely and totally wrong with all my beliefs at that point.
That's the third time today you've been either shocked, been shocked, or something else. I now have to stop this show and taser Angelo. As
So
soon
I
as
can
he
be
wakes
shocked?
back up, we'll continue the Facebook.
He might be dehydrated. We might need to check his levels of
I've only been up
liquidity
since
in his
3
body.
this morning.
He was on the air quite early this morning.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit more about that and other stuff when we get back from the break. This is Ron, Angelo, and Johnny Gwin with Two Guys and Some Change. We'll be right back.
Yeah, I was shocked by the guy I was talking about.
He's shocked too. See, we're all shocked.
But I would have thought, it was Apple or Google or Netflix. But it was like, no, if you'd have put this amount of money in this time during this amount of... Southwest Airlines was the one that did this crazy, it was like $8, and then it was like, whatever it was, like that had the biggest return of anything out of this whole section of
They
stocks.
did really well with doing futures on fuel too, where they locked in their cost of their fuel for their planes. So there was when all that happened in 2008 and went through the roof and earlier, they were locked in at
whatever the fuel was 2 or 3 years earlier.
When their company got a little on rougher grounds and stuff, they still make money, but nothing like they used to. When those contracts all ran out and people learned to make them shorter because how much money that Southwest made out of that, to where people actually had to deliver that jet fuel to them at a third of what all the other airlines were having to pay.
That's crazy. And then someone we had the business book club, and someone at the table said, "Hey, this book was written in 2009, 2010. It's been a little different last 8 years." Just letting you know. I was like, "Oh yeah, this book's a little older." I mean, the book was written. Steve Jobs was still alive.
Yeah, so it tells you.
It tells you a lot right there.
But the guy nailed what's going to happen to Apple when Steve Jobs, that charismatic, massive genius leader, is not there.
Right.
He literally has nailed it. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, Mr. Angelo and Johnny Gwin, we are back from the break, and what do we want to continue talking about? Do we have some more perceived value items?
Well, we do, because one of the things I was talking about at the very end of the last segment was Native Americans and using shells as money, and that actually wasn't the case. Wampum, which was the shell money, black beads and white beads that were being made from shells from some of the coastal tribes, were not actually used as money. They were actually used for a lot of different things. In many cases, they were taking these and
Jewelry?
sewing them. Not really jewelry, more of like a belt, well, necklaces, which was a piece of jewelry, but also some belts and some ribbons or wide bands where it was basically rows of black and white beads. So they would put a message into this design, into this pattern, and they could hand that to you. Ron, you might be the chief's messenger and you've got to go to a different tribe. They would hand you this belt made out of wampum, and you would go to the new chief and they would go, okay, Ron came over here to tell me about this meeting we want to do.
What's the guy doing? Ron came over. Was that typing?
No, he's not typing.
To the people on the radio, he was doing like a typewriter finger thing.
But they were actually reading the beads. These beads were black and white beads.
Oh, so it was language.
It was a language. There was a wampum language. Binary code, exactly.
On and off, right.
Who knew
O's
the
and
Native
ones.
Americans?
Ron, I guess, but other than that.
But who knew the Native Americans invented binary code?
Holy moly.
Apparently they did. Now, when the Europeans came along, a couple things happened. Number one, they were seeing the Native Americans trading back and forth and sending these things and go, oh, it must be valuable, it must be money, because they looked at money as a very different thing from what the Native Americans did. And they did two things. Number one, they started mass producing these because they said, well, hey, if that's money, let's get some machines out here. Let's start cranking these things out here. Fiat currency, exactly. And something else they did, there were actually standards set for what the white beads were worth versus what the black beads were worth. And so what's everybody going to do? Hey, these black beads are worth twice as much as the white beads. Guess what they started doing? They started dyeing white beads black. They're counterfeiting.
Sounds like the U.S. Fed.
Exactly. So who knew that the Native Americans were doing all these great and interesting things? They're writing binary code back in the 1500s. They're doing all these other cool things. Europeans come along, we start counterfeiting, we start doing all this other stuff. It's like, what the heck?
During the war, Native Americans were code breakers. They
were. Because they had it was an unwritten language that no one could. The code breakers on the other side had no reference to go by.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. Just a matter of how ingenious. I mean, once again, if Christopher Columbus would have come over to America and that was what he introduced, that'd have been okay. But it went a little different, right? He didn't bring a bunch of turkeys on sale from one of the
turkeys on sale.
Well, Thanksgiving and all that stuff. It wasn't.
That was the Jamestown folks, and
so.
all those myths.
Well, remember those copper Dewitt coins? We had a whole bag of those there at the shop at one point in time. A copper Dewitt, which is basically a copper penny for all intents and purposes, from the Netherlands, if I'm not mistaken. That was the equivalent of 8 white beads or 4 black beads.
Okay, wow.
They actually set an exchange rate back in the 1600s and early 1700s for the wampum white beads, the wampum black beads, to real copper coinage from Europe. So the Europeans set that standard and tried to make it all work. And they figured out pretty quickly, with all the counterfeiting and all the other crazy stuff going on, doesn't quite work that way.
So we're thinking, what, 17th century this is all happening?
1670s, 1650s.
Man, it's amazing that, because you hear about early Rome and Egypt, and humans figure out a way to figure out some type of, but even just a way of the scale of what a value of a coin or this is, and we just figure it out. Either it's a bead, or actually, Caesar's got his face on it with the whatever that is. It's amazing we figure that out, because I guess we were in our DNA to trade. We trade, and whatever that is, either it be fire or I don't know, wheels, but coins or beads or whatever. It's amazing we all figured that out.
That's right, because everybody wants to have something of value that they can trade to somebody else that needs that item. You might be a hunter, so you're out there hunting and you're trapping and shooting, and you've got meat and you've got furs and pelts, all these different things. Well, you can only eat so much meat, so much bacon, so much whatever, so you trade that to somebody, and you've got to figure out what that exchange rate is. Hey, if you're the hunter and you've got all these pelts, they're only going to be good for so long before they spoil. until you can find somebody to sell those to that can process those, turn those into fur coats for somebody's girlfriend or somebody's wife or something else. And that's where money and tangible assets like that have a real value and a perceived value.
Well, we're talking about pelts and stuff over here with Billy and Angelo.
Hey.
About fur coats. Back in the day, I think they were used more for clothing and keeping people warm than fur coats for their. We're talking
Fur coats for warmth, though.
Pretty early on when that stuff was traded, Angelo, where we're talking about perceived value. Not today when they're going out and getting a beaver or something else a pelt. We're talking back in early 1800s and stuff. It was
so the
currency.
Perceived value too. I mean, there is the El Dorado, the city of gold in Latin America or South America. Well, gold doesn't mean a whole lot to a civilization when you're in a city of gold, and so gold really has it might have a worship value to them, but they said that was not something they traded in, if that myth is actually true. But again, the Europeans were like, whoa, that's a commodity we have no cities of gold. That's why theirs is so expensive.
If you live in that city, though, would you go around with some kind of diamond saw and hack off little pieces and go bury your own little treasure after a while and just steps would become rounded off at your house? Hey, that's how they made it.
But that's why Hillary was slipping, is somebody rounded off the darn steps and she slipped on the darn steps.
Oh, is that what it was?
Hillary's in the city of gold? I don't think so.
Yeah, so the guy with the diamond saw is actually the guy that's got the most value there, because he can start nicking all those little steps and things off, according to Ron here.
Okay, well, there's a perceived value thing. It's kind of weird. I mean, look at the control of diamonds, right?
Sure.
Yep.
That is not exactly based on a fair, free market.
Not at all.
Isn't that very controlled by a certain group of people?
Probably not as much as it was, but originally it was the
De Beers.
De Beers.
De Beers, yeah.
It still actually is, because De Beers back in the 70s, late 80s, started coming up with this design for eternity bands or infinity bands. Sometimes they're called different things, because big diamonds were the big deal. Obviously, you're getting married, you're getting engaged, you own a big diamond. Well, now all the big diamonds are out there. These people have been married for a number of years. Well, what the heck are they going to do? So you sell them an eternity band to show that their love is eternal. And that's a simple band that's wrapped completely around with diamonds. And what a great way to sell small stones, right?
Yeah, but they could make a million of those bands. What I think Johnny and I were talking about is they are limiting the production and they bring into the market, controlling how much comes out, because if it all came out at once, diamonds would be cheap. They're already inexpensive now.
Right.
Now, the caveat, the sidebar to that is, as Angelo can tell you, is there's exceptions to every rule. Somebody finds a 15 or 20 karat rock, raw. I don't care what the current market is. You're talking millions and millions and millions. It could be hundreds of millions, right? I mean, some of those diamonds are crazy expensive. So you understand why they do it. But I wonder if they got these big vaults with these just raw stones that they're waiting to slowly ship out. Because basically, at least how it used to work is, you'd have to sign a contract to buy a certain amount. They would send the raw stones to you. You have to say yes or no. But if you pass, you don't get your next allotment. You got to skip one.
Wow.
So everybody's kind of pressured to buy your allotment, or you got to take a pass on what comes out next. And he might get the option to buy my lot, and it might be bigger stones. It just depends on what they're releasing at that point.
And not only that, even worse, if you take too many passes, and it's not that many, it's like 2 or 3, then you're forced to take your next allotment. So if you pass on this allotment, pass on that allotment, the next one you get, you've got to take. You're kicked out of the team.
And you hope they weren't mad at you, and then some guy scraped in a bunch of stuff with a bunch of inclusions and just spit in it and folded it
Well,
up.
I guess it's a syndicate.
Yeah.
I mean, and
It is.
And if it can be that way,
cartel.
then it's been that way for quite a while. Correct?
Yeah.
This is not a new thing.
Yeah, it's nothing we just came up with. It's just how it works. But once again, there is a value there. They're just controlling how many they release. But once again, a lot of times that happens with coins too, like the Saddle Ridge Hoard, and we could go on with naming the Redfield Hoard, all these different hoards, including the stuff that with the CCs, the Carson City silver dollars that they minted themselves with the GSA, is they controlled the release of it. They took several years, and in many cases 5 to 10 years, to liquidate the amount of items in silver dollars and what we're talking about right there, so the prices didn't get depressed and driven down, and they ruin their own investment. They want this stuff to go up, and they sell it over time. So it's the same thing with diamonds. Diamonds have been going on a lot longer, but it still happens in other businesses. So they can't curtail it because they don't want the prices to crash. It's not good for any industry.
Right, they can bring it all down.
Yeah.
Right.
It really will. One of the things, though, that's really interesting about some of these coins and some of these stories you're talking about, the different hoards, is you're not just buying the coin itself. you're buying a piece of that story and a piece of that legacy. So you've got the Redfield horde, who is this crazy old man that could read what was going to happen with the market. Like you're talking about, oh, buy Southwest. This guy didn't buy Southwest, but he was one step ahead of everything that was going on during his time. So the Great Depression is happening, and he skips ahead of the Great Depression. He's buying property out in California, sells it at the perfect time. He's buying stocks and bonds, sells those at the perfect time. And while he's doing all of this, all of his money, all of his cash, paper money, he goes to the bank and says, I want to, here's $1,000, give me a bag of silver dollars. Takes that bag of silver dollars.
Oh, you're telling the whole story.
Stashes it in his house. But those stories, I'm not going to go into the great details, but those stories sometimes make those particular coins worth 2, 3, 5, 10 times as much as the same coin that doesn't have a darn story associated with it.
It's providence. Can you prove that so-and-so has it? I mean, that's the whole thing of like, oh, there's a Stetson hat. Well, John Dillinger's Stetson hat. Well, if you can prove it, well, that Stetson hat is worth tens of thousands of dollars, but you have to prove that is that hat.
Yeah, I just saw news in Coin World today that somebody on eBay had sold a photograph, and it being a real photograph of Jesse James, one of the very few that are out there, and the guy bought it for $10.
Oh man,
nice.
$1 to $2 million.
Holy cow.
That's always like that someone found a lost Picasso at like a yard sale. Yeah. Again, that
does happen.
But that's the literally like buying the lottery ticket. That
exactly.
you could go to 1,000 yard sales and all you're gonna find is like underwear and old Beanie Babies. Yeah. You're not gonna find a Picasso.
Underwear and old Beanie Babies. Wow.
When you pass and your state comes in, your house is gonna look like a hoarder house because there's these stacks of all this stuff you bought, lottery tickets that didn't win, and just fire hazard.
Underwear and Beanie Babies in Johnny's house.
Again, perceived value. How many people thought they were going to put their kids through college with Beanie Babies?
And some people made some jack, man. I know.
Early on, they did, and there's still a handful that are worth some money, but the majority of them are really just very expensive stuff, little tiny stuffed animals.
I know a coin dealer that made so much money he exchanged it for a bag of 1860 seeded dollar silver, brand new. There was a hoard over in London that was found in about 5 or 6 bags. So he knew the price was going to go down. So he took all his Beanie Baby stuff that he'd gotten at price over the peak, and he sold it all and paid for that bag as well as some other nice coins. And then he's been slowly releasing them over time and getting them graded. The guy's made quadrupled, maybe 1,000 times the value just because he still has most of that.
Pure luck.
It was a $1,000 bag of coins that he bought when they were a little cheaper and making all the money. But if those Beanie Babies, he told me if he still had those, he wouldn't have a 10.
Right. I mean, that's also playing chess. I mean, he's looking at the 5th and 6th move. He's not looking at the second move. I mean, that happens all the time. I mean, if you can look down the road and see those trends, see those things. I mean, that happened just recently with Bitcoin. We talked about a couple shows ago.
Right.
Everybody, Bitcoin rose up to $19,000, and a lot of the smart people pulled something. They took profits, got out of it, went through Coinbase, got American dollars, and what'd they buy? Gold coins.
Yeah. Right.
They didn't buy ETFs. They bought gold physical specie, which is so brilliant because you take this, man, they know that wasn't going to last. That was a rise because all the investors got involved. And that is so smart. You got to figure out, keep your investment, pull some out, take some profit, diversify.
Yep, and keep some of the base because a lot of those people
keep base,
getting cashed out, lost out on even after it dropped. It's still
that's what I did. I got just impatient in 16 and pulled most of it out. And I mean, geez, I could have literally bought a car for what I had. Playing around money. That cryptocurrency stuff is playing around money. Do not take a home, what they call that a home equity line.
And buy it.
Do not do that for these volatile, crazy cryptocurrencies.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about crazy crypto stuff when we get back from the break. We'll talk more about crazy crypto stuff and get back from the break. This is Ron, Angelo, and Johnny Gwin with Two Guys and Some Change. We'll be right back. Okay, what have we got left, boys?
For the shop, we need to talk about stuff we need. So if you've been listening to us talk about coins, collectibles, jewelry.
We have 11 minutes because we have a long first segment, so we got a shorter one here at the end. So talk about the new stuff. Let's talk about the cool new stuff, Angelo. And Johnny, any new stuff you have coming out for Easter you want to throw out there, dude?
Nothing for Easter. Oh, yeah, to have the Easter belt that I'm selling online, and then also the graduation's coming up for McGill and Murphy, and we got the Canon stuff.
Okay, so we'll cover that too. You ready, Angelo?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's Ron, Angelo, and Johnny Gwin tonight with Two Guys and Some Change, and we're going to talk a little bit right now about some cool new stuff at the shop. Mr. Angelo Semi-Farrow sitting across from me. usually, I should say 90% of the time, comes up at least for bullion items. He'll research and come up with a list of items that he thinks we should actually have in stock for the popularity. And I mean, we did really well. And it's amazing how quick some of them sold. Like the Black Panther, we had to order another roll of those
That's
today.
great.
It sold very, very fast. And tell everybody a little bit more about what we have there, Angelo.
So we had the Black Panther, which obviously ties exactly to the new movie that came out. That movie's been making
better
records.
because if it's a Jungle Book or something like that, it's slap when people walk
I
in.
got the Jungle Book right there, man.
Yeah, but these guys who come in and buying these coins are like Johnny.
Yeah, they're not into the Jungle Book and Rudyard
Once
Kipling.
again,
They're into Marvel.
Slap Angelo's little
Yeah,
cheeks.
so we've got the Black Panther coins that we sold out of. We got more on the way in. So if you want us to reserve one of those, come by the shop. They're at 2204 Government. We're glad to put you down on the list and set one back for you. The Queen's Beast series had the latest release in that series, which is the Black Horse of Clarence. Sorry, Black Bull
I was
of
saying,
Clarence,
he
not
changed-
Black Horse.
I thought Angelo was drifting because at the shop he showed me one that looks a lot like,
Like a bull.
So-
Yeah, well, you probably thought I was full of bull. Is
Yeah,
that what it
no,
was?
Right.
The coin. So anyway, it's a black bull, very cool looking.
Yeah, Black Bull of Clarence. And I was a little confused because I wasn't sure where Clarence fell into the whole Great Britain regime kind of thing there. But apparently that was through... Go ahead.
Is it? No, finish your stuff. I mean, I have a question, son. I just want to know how many in the series so far. 4 or 5?
5.
Okay.
A total of 10. So this is the 5th. So we're halfway done with the darn series. And the Black Bull of Clarence came through Edward IV to the Queen, which, again, I'm still a little confused about the bull and Clarence, but that's
It's-
okay.
Look, man, that's thousands
It's
of
the
years
Queen
of history.
and- yeah, exactly. The House of Tudor and the blah, 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 blah. But it's pretty cool. And I
Those
like
Brits.
it. I like the design. I like the series. The Brits have some cool stuff. Something else that came out right before the Black Bull hit the shop was the Fourth Horseman of the Apocalypse.
Go ahead. The black bull hit the shop. I just thinking. Boom. Yeah. Anyway, keep talking. Angelo.
So the Fourth Horseman of the Apocalypse, the Pale Horse of
Wait,
Death.
Wait, is that the last one?
That's the last one.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 horsemen, 1 of 4 is the last one there at the shop.
4
and
of 4, not 1 of 4. 1 of 4 would have been the first one at the shop.
I'm gonna beat you with a stick. Do you have a stick handy? I want to
Yeah,
beat him with
keep
it.
talking.
I don't carry sticks with me.
And cool, Johnny. We got the 4 ounce. Or, excuse me, 10 ounce 4
Well,
horsemen.
I'm the one that's not paying attention.
Okay, I've seen this picture on Facebook. So there's 4 coins,
Right.
and they're an ounce apiece.
Yes, sir.
And then you have the bar in the middle
Correct.
of all 4 together.
Isn't that a cool
But
design?
how many ounces is that?
The 10 ounce bar.
14 ounces.
Oh, that's a 10-ounce
Well,
bar.
everything's 14 ounces, but he's talking the bar. The bar's a 10 ounce bar. The cool
Wow.
thing, though, it's a design they're going to stick with for their product. They manufacture bars themselves, so it isn't a high premium. You're going to pay a little bit of a smaller premium, medium premium maybe on the other 1 ounce items. Very cool coins, but the 10 ounce bar you could buy one for all your kids for Christmas, and the premiums aren't anything outrageous.
That's
So
cool.
It's a cool looking bar, and it's a great use for a hedge.
Yeah, it really is. A beautiful design, beautiful set. So if you want to get all of those, we do not have any of the First Horsemen left in stock at the shop. But the Second, Third, and Fourth Horsemen are in stock, and we can get the bars for as long as people need them.
Yeah, I messed up and didn't get the first zombie coin 2 years ago, and boy, did I pay for that first one down the
You
road.
still have sleepless nights where you're laying there going, I cannot believe I didn't buy it.
Well, I didn't find it till that's when I first started coming in y'all's
Right.
shop more frequently, and
Technically,
you had
you
already
never
sold
did
on
find it.
No, well, technically
Your
I
wife-
didn't. Right.
Your beautiful wife did.
Right, and that's a thing to say again. What's great about Angelo and Ron is when people. My wife says I'm hard to buy for, which I tend to disagree, but she knows, hey, I want to get something special for my husband, and she comes and asks you guys, hey, what should I get? Because you kind of know what I have and what I don't have and what I'd like.
The hardest part about selling that coin to her, or that medal to her, was the fact that you were at the shop for 3 hours and 45 minutes that morning
Counting tokens.
counting tokens. Yeah, you remember that day. And meanwhile, she is texting me, is he still there? Is he still there? Is he still there? About every 15 minutes, it's like, yes, he's still. I promise you, I will tell you when he's gone, or you can meet me at the dang house if you have to pick it up after hours, for goodness sakes.
And we couldn't rush him out. Yeah, we couldn't because he was actually doing us a favor.
He was organizing our stuff.
Yeah, he was helping out with the tokens. Like, yeah, sort those babies. He even found a couple nice ones for us. But the end result was his wife wanted to come by and pick up the present. But I mean, that's what a good spouse is like. That she was just keeping up on a Johnny, and not just going out and buying you, I don't know, just something off a shelf that you go, thanks, honey, I have 10 of these.
Well, she knows that I'm a collector. She knows that, and she knows that. First of all, she bought into the idea of like, wait, so even if this pop culture thing doesn't really mean anything to me, it's actually always worth something. I'm like, yes, it's always worth something. It's the worth of silver. It's the cost of the ounce of the spot price of silver.
Right.
And I don't have any like Marvel gold coins. I don't think they have any of those. But I'm just saying, I mean, does Marvel make any?
I don't know if Marvel has done any of the golds. There have been some Star Wars golds.
Yeah,
so you
I
can
did
get
see
Darth
that,
Vader
yeah.
or some of those in gold. You can get the Queen's Beasts in gold or silver or platinum, as a matter of fact.
Whoa, okay.
But it's a little pricey, and it makes me choke a little bit. But the
like Darth Vader choking you with that price there.
pretty much, yeah, because you look at that and you go, what? A half ounce of gold for Darth Vader is how much? The premiums really aren't that bad. It's just the fact that gold is $1,300 and something dollars an ounce. Silver is $16 and something per ounce. So it's a lot more fun and a lot more cool, in my estimation, to get a lot of these different silver coins, because you can pick those up for a fairly reasonable price, get a really cool collection, lay all those out and check them out. Just a 10 ounce, so you can see the obverse of the coin with the Queen's face on there. And I'm sorry, she needs a facelift, dude.
And we're going to go ahead and set up a display with all the 10-ounce coins as soon as they're available. They haven't produced them all yet, so we're going to start adding to it. We can. We actually, as soon as we got the last two in, they sold within 24 hours of actually unpacking them. And we can't literally order more unless we go out on the secondary market, and anybody can buy them for that. We're trying to buy them and basically make 99 cents. Just flip these items and sell them for the
right.
Everybody can find these items online, so we're basically buying quantities of them. It's just they're having a hard time producing them. So decent items that the premiums aren't crazy high can't be a bad thing. Like you said, it can help if your significant other, your spouse or boyfriend or what have you, is not into coins or bullion, so they don't see the value, perceive the value. You can say, hey, look online, it's almost like a stock or better, because it can't ever be worth nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if the cool stuff like you're talking about, the pop culture or the stuff that's a little archaic, like some of the stuff Angelo might get into, strange stuff. Or Nancy has some strange items she collects too.
Well, we all do. We all got strange.
But it can be that those strange things can be made of a precious metal. Therefore, once again, if the whatever the Dungeons and Dragons or whatever you used to love, the items that you think are going to be worth nothing. Actually, I know somebody that has the dice, original Dungeons, and made it silver. And
those are worth some good money.
That's amazing. That's cool.
Yeah, very cool. So there are items you can think, okay, at the time you pay the premium, they're never going to be worth anything. Well, they made like 50 sets of those dice. So if you have a complete set now, they sell for crazy amounts of money. So you can create a hedge with highly collectible money items, but you really got to spend some time. We can help locate them. Like we were talking a couple shows ago, a guy collects bars. They were candy bars, 1 ounce bars from Hershey, basically Hershey Company. When they would have different board meetings, they would make one for each of the members and things of that nature. So you have silver bars where they made 50 of them. And they're colorized. They're very pretty. Look like the ones you would get at Halloween, a Hershey or Kit Kat.
Little minis.
Yeah, little minis. Very cool bars. And we know a guy that has a complete set of those in a frame.
Wow.
And you're talking about $300 to $500 a piece or more, depending. Some of them are even more because the people, for whatever reason, got them. The items disappeared. It was the common one. The Hershey bar is really hard to find. So,
but that's the thing about things that, again, perceived value.
Sure.
If there's 200,000 something out there, well, it's not worth a whole lot of money, even though you think it's rare. But like when a stamp had a mistake and they had to pull all of them, and only 87 went out, they're worth a lot of money. And by the way, Pink Panther, Black Panther right now, if you go look online, has something Disney did that is actually a mistake. It's a pin. You might want to go look at it. I bought one just because they're going to pull them. And I'm going to have one of, a couple thousand, but yeah, they're definitely going to pull that pin.
Very cool.
So where can you get it?
You just go online. Okay. They have them. Disney sells it, but they didn't know that's what they did. And I won't get into it, but I went and bought it because it's a mistake. Yeah. And they know it's a mistake.
And those kind of errors and mistakes, as long as they remain popular, that's where the real money comes in. Because other people, I make mistakes all the time. It's not popular. So
we try not to save those mistakes because we don't have enough storage space. So we buy them for fuel and stuff like that.
Or like my pirate heads that we've been molding and casting. I've made a bunch of mistakes on those. Nobody could care because it's an ugly mistake. So there's no collectability there, even though technically each one of those is one of one.
Thank God your parents didn't care.
Hey,
wow, goodness.
Wow. Mom, I hope you're not listening. And if you are, don't hit Ron too hard next time you come out of the shop.
But the thing about pirate stuff, that the ingots and everything, they weren't perfect either. So your imperfect pirate kind of fits into the world of the pirate world.
Now, see, now you're working with me on this one, so I appreciate that,
I
Johnny.
work with what you got, not what you have, not what you want, what
and,
you got.
And if you look at some of those Captain Jack Sparrow things out there when they have the barnacles on their head, that sort of looks like some of the things I was attempting to cast out there.
Okay.
We saw real live pirates today too, and we don't want to go into that.
I
story.
saw him today walking down Government Street.
Yeah,
They came by.
Literally, I said, that guy is, I don't know what he is, but he needs to be in an amusement park, or he is
a carny or something.
right, some kind of carny. But he had the pirate hat on with the beard and everything. Wow.
Yeah, I saw him too. All of us at the shop saw him. So the pirates do exist. So.
They certainly do.
Modern day pirates.
Well,
Arr.
this has been Ron, Angelo, and Johnny Gwin tonight with Two Guys and Some Change, brought to you by Mobile Bay Coins. If you guys have any ideas about future topics you want to hear Johnny, Angelo, or I flap about, either contact us on Facebook or call us to the shop, or where can they reach you, Johnny?
DeepFriedThreads.com and JohnnyGwin.com. GWIN, one N, not two.
Thanks
Johnny
for
Gwin.
listening. See you, Facebook people.
I hope it gave me a notice that said,